Happy Sunday, everyone. This is John Hoppy. You're listening to Wrestling Fans Insight. I'm here with my co-host, Bryan the Hype Ballard. How's it going, my friend?
Good, guys.
And at the bottom, no, you're not seeing anything weird. It's actually William who's decided to join us. William, how are you?
I'm okay. Been dealing with a lot of medical crap. I apologize for the long absence. It's just been a fight. So I'm trying to do my best, but I'm here.
And we're proud that you're actually here with us today, William, because there's been a lot that's going on since you've been gone. So, and this is our second episode back since post WrestleMania. We've been out for a while. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it last week, but here we are. We're back, and hopefully, we're going to stay on schedule this time. So, as long as nothing else comes up. So, Bryan, this week been an interesting week of wrestling, would you say?
It has. I went 6-0 in my predictions for Night of Champions, and Carlos and I are contesting that. President Jack Tunney will make a decision tomorrow night on Raw, so that'll be cool. But as far as who gets the profile picture in our chat, it's been good. It's been a fun week.
I am a little scared that if Jack Tunney's involved, which one of you is doing the voodoo magic here?
I think it's one of the faces of Carlos, one of his many personalities. I think you're going to see who was the voodoo?
Papa Shango?
Papa Shango. I was like, not Shao, whatever. Shao Kahn's from Mortal Kombat. Papa Shango, that's it. So,
or Big Bad Mama from Glow.
Yes.
Pretty sure Carlos is more of a Vader.
Vader? Darth or Wrestling Vader?
Wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't quite go that far, but this week there was a lot of mixed feelings about the Night of Champions event because there's a lot of people protesting with events going on there in the Mid East, and I don't know. I find it weird that I'm glad people are standing on their morals, but two, we also need to realize those who were willing to go over. I think it's kind of, we should also, as the IWC, show our support for that talent too, who decided to risk themselves. I know this is probably not going to be the probably most viewed episode for anyone covering Night of Champions on the moral level, but here we are. We're going to still cover it here from the fans of pro wrestling because we pretty much like all the promotions and we're still going to watch it regardless. Nonetheless, getting outside the politic issue, why don't we go ahead and get right into it? Because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about on this. And first match that took place was the King of the Ring finals. Cody Rhodes ends up becoming the 2025 King of the Ring for the WWE, defeating Randy Orton, who now this is his back-to-back year of coming short in the finals. Bryan, let's get your thoughts first off, because I know you're probably going to have a little bit of thought process on this one.
I thought it was interesting that they did have Randy lose back-to-back. I don't know if that went under the radar or not, so you noticed that. Could that set up a Randy type heel turn? Maybe we get old school Viper Randy out of it because he just hasn't been able to get the job done as a face in the since his return. Also, I think the right call was Cody Rhodes winning this, right? This is Cody's chance to get his title back that he lost and to possibly get that shot at Mania. I thought it was a little interesting. I mentioned it, over the weekend that Cody, the turnbuckle was exposed at the end, right, by Orton. And then Cody used the turnbuckle to get the win. And then, it's interesting that because, this is Cody, the John Cena 2.0. He would never cheat. He would never do anything, right? And so I thought it was interesting. I thought that was a little layer into the story to add Cody, maybe showing his desperation to get the title back a little, right? Will it turn into something? Maybe, maybe not, right? But I do think that was, very un-Cody-like to use nefarious resources to get the job done, but he did. So
Well, and I have to say, I think in fairness, though, Randy exposed it, so and he was not going to hesitate to throw Cody in there. So for me, it's kind of hard to say it's really a cheating move when you're not the one that exposes it. But it also depends on how you look at it. But I understand where you come from when you say you would be a little shocked with Cody using it because that's not his style way to win. But William, how would you view this?
Well, we had to censor William because he was cursing about it. So no, I'm kidding.
No, I'm dealing with a new phone.
I was just covering for you. So
it keeps kicking me out of shit because it's still busy updating everything. I'm here. What's the question?
yep. So we were going into thoughts on Cody winning his first matchup, and
Oh,
we were talking a
okay,
little bit
yeah.
about how he used the turnbuckle and if that is a little bit of a seed planted for a heel or not.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's no surprise that Cody comes out the winner. We know that the title's going to go back to Cody. This has been a celebrate John Cena moment. I think everybody's okay with it. Some people are mad, and they shouldn't be. This is the best it's the best Cena I've ever seen. But the usage of the turnbuckle, I'm not that concerned about it. Like, you can't be a perfect champion always.
But would you say this was kind of more of a turnabout and fair play because Randy was being Randy, that's just his style, and everybody would expect it. But Cody, who would not normally go to those tactics, did. But like I mentioned to Bryan, though, I don't know if I can really blame Cody for it because Randy's the one exposed it and was willing to use it on him. So
Yeah, no, I think it's going to go back to Cody just being pure and Randy taking advantage, but Randy's going to lose. And then later on, we're going to see more through Randy and Cody. And eventually, Randy's going to be a champion again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested if they did go the route of the seed planted. I would love to see Cody win the title by pulling the tights. Just a little again. I would love to see it. And then it would almost lay the story for after the championship of, well, you've gotten a little desperate and and then make him speak to that. Like I said, I don't think it's a flat out a Dick Kick City, John Cena style heel turn, right? But I do think, it would be fun to kind of set up something that questions people a little. And it would
certainly push the storyline further.
Yeah. And again, I'm looking probably way too into it, I'll admit. But if something else happens, I'm going to be like, oh, there's two. They're doing something. So it could be fun. But
kudos to Bryan for the WrestleMania 8 reference of Randy Savage and Ric Flair there on the pulling of the tights. So, but anyway, let's go into match number 2 in the Riyadh Boulevard street fight. I don't know why we just don't call these street fights and don't have to include the city names anymore, but
yeah,
it is what it is. A cheap pop for Mick Foley, I guess you can say. Rhea Ripley victorious over Raquel Rodriguez. I thought it was a little shocked to see Roxanne Perez come out and try to help Raquel there for a little bit. I think this might be kind of maybe tying into ways to maybe influence the general managers on having Roxanne Perez fill in for Liv Morgan for the tag team championships with Raquel. We can get into that a little bit after we talk this match, but William, your thoughts on this match?
I mean, there was no doubt Rhea was going to be the victor. The involvement with Roxanne Perez, look, we all know Liv Morgan decides to take a vacation, and she deserves it. She's worked hard ever since she got back.
But she's
So,
not on vacation, unfortunately.
are you sure about that?
Yeah, it was confirmed injury.
Mm,
Yeah.
either way, she's worked hard. She deserves a little time off. And honestly, Roxanne is probably the perfect segue.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I would agree with Raquel also being a nice segue there. I believe that, she could take Liv's spot in Judgment Day a little bit, right? See that things are running just smooth and insert Liv. Oh, you're back. We didn't even miss you. Like kind of start that little bit of an annoyance, right? I like, I like this match a lot. Rhea Ripley, is that person now who is very protected. She's the big thing in the women's division. She doesn't even need the title to be relevant, right? It's, I don't want to say it's Undertaker-like, but not in a scary, spooky sense, but in a sense that she doesn't need the title and she's going to be very well protected. And so it was right to give her the win. But I do think I like the match that Raquel gave her. I've not been the biggest supporter or detractor of Raquel's work. I just always kind of was like, okay. And I thought this was one of her best singles matches I've seen on the main roster. So I actually thought this did really well. I thought these two worked really well. Adding the street fight element helped. Kind of to your point, I don't know why they would have to name them always after, but if they're going to keep that trend, I would politic for them to go back to Greenwich, Connecticut and have the Mean Street Posse come back and do a Greenwich, street fight, right? So with Pete Gas, everybody's favorite wrestler. But ultimately, I do think that Raquel, showed a little good intention here. And I think like she could carry that with this feud with Rhea a little further. And then I feel like, there's a spot in Judgment Day for her just to kind of hold the spot for Liv and create a little jealousy there. So those were my thoughts.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I wouldn't doubt if this kind of helps play into the story where Roxanne fills in for Liv for one half of the vacant WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And if they do go that route, let's make sure we keep those titles relevant too. That's been one of the biggest problems WWE has done is they've created all these championships, but they've really never, in fair, I don't think they've really done well with keeping them in the eye of the viewer and keeping the interest going. So I still think they have a lot of work to do, even with the women's mid-card championships. They just got to find ways to keep it going. And this might be one way that can help carry that around, especially as talented as Raquel Rodriguez is. And apparently William's been re-added to the studio.
I'm fighting the shit out of it, bro.
Hang on one sec. I hope Yep. Are you still with us, William?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'll kind of talk to what you were saying there. I noticed like when they split up the tag titles and created two sets, right? And they created all these different, and I remember being so against it, right? And I was like, no, they don't have enough legitimate teams to sustain all these extra titles. And I always kind of said that, the tag titles should float between the shows. And, I appreciate that they're trying to give the women the secondary titles, but you got to take care of your main titles first, right? And then also develop a lot of characters underneath to support that. And otherwise they just become, like a 24/7 title, that kind of thing, right? And a throwaway. So I do agree with you guys. And I just, you can't really undo the creation of all these different titles now because they're there, right? So they're kind of stuck and they're going to have to develop, the roster to fill around all the titles they have. That buy you enough time?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to do.
So that works. So, why don't we go on to the next match? Just a typical grudge match. Karrion Kross for weeks has been taunting Sami Zayn. And finally, it's just come to the point where Sami Zayn got a match official for the Night of Champions PLE. Sami Zayn ends up defeating Karrion Kross, and this is Karrion Kross's first PLE match in a while, and actually first match in quite some time as well since the breakup of the Final Testament. I think Karrion Kross did a really great job on his first match back, and something I kind of want to address before we get too far is, the IWC sitting here throwing out, oh, Karrion Kross, he just doesn't know how to take bumps and whatnot. I'm like, okay, this match sure showed a lot different because this is the type of match I see Karrion Kross wrestle for quite some time. And, it just really bugs me that everybody is so critical of how the talent performs. And this showed me that, yeah, Karrion Kross still knows how to perform. And, any talent can have a bad night or bad moments. I don't like pointing botches out because I've never been a wrestler. I don't know what it's like to go through those moments. But overall, I thought this was a great first match back in a while, and I hope we keep seeing Karrion Kross on the TV screens here shortly. Bryan, let's go to you.
Yeah, I've never doubted him, right? Like at all. I like his work and performer. And I know his style does not fit everybody's style, and that's perfectly fine. So I want to say this to the comment you made about the, not taking bumps, right? Most of his matches we mentioned have been on Main Event, which I believe is on a YouTube show, right? So we have millions that are commenting about this on social media, but then we have, 100 people watching Main Event. So how do they really know? Because obviously the people that chime in on it aren't watching him wrestle on Main Event, right? So, and they're just dogpiling on other people's comments and thoughts. But, I look at it like this. You don't get into wrestling or MMA or anything without knowing you're going to take some hits. So I think it's kind of laughable for people to even report that or to say that. I don't know. Like, to me, I'm just like, well, yeah, the first thing they teach you is how to fall. I mean, how to take a fall, I should say, not how to fall. So how to take a fall, right? So that's like one of the basic things, right? Run the ropes, take a fall, And I think that's weird that people this late in his career, and he's an indie guy. He's not been in development, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden those things come up out of nowhere. I thought this match was good. I felt like Sami, was going to win this match. He's not losing in Saudi Arabia. It's just, especially with the tension and everything over there. So I think make people happy, let Sami win this. And, but I thought Kross did good. And I thought some of those reports were a little ridiculous and laughable. And I see that Kross answered a question from a media member about it, which I'm glad he answered it. And he didn't have any hate towards it. But I was like, why does he even have to answer that? So that's the world we kind of live in. But, I hope we see a little bit more of him. I don't think the loss is a big deal. I think, he moves right ahead with his character, and hopefully they'll be able to paint some more stories for him with it. So, Will, what do you think of this one?
So I'm going to kind of go off a little bit here. I'm super pissed off at the underusage of Karrion Kross. Straight up, this dude can go in the ring. He is a fucking talent. And he has been seriously underrated and underutilized. The match was amazing. This dude can go in the ring, but they just keep putting him on the sideline, and I'm pissed. Like, why would you do this to somebody who's gold?
To your point, I kind of thought when they broke up his faction, I thought that was a big hurdle to come back from because he had a lot of momentum with AOP and, and Paul Ellering. And then they just kind of said, we're not going to do that. And we don't have anything for you. So to be even surviving that and rebranding himself a little, I think that's huge. What do you think about that piece? Did that hurt him? Do you think that hurt him?
I think it did hurt him. I also remember what he said when he was first released. And he wasn't a dick about it. He was humble and he was funny about it. Like somebody asked him for his crown and he said, "Why the fuck would I want that piece of shit?" Like he was perfect going through NXT. Then they brought him up to the main roster and just dropped the fucking ball.
And is it his character style that they just don't know how to write the stories for, or to build and book? Or do you think that's that type of character, or do you think that's just something with him?
I think they should put him with R-Truth and make them serious.
Okay.
I think to answer that question, Brian, I think a little bit of that was back when Vince McMahon was still running things, because at the time Vince McMahon was still in charge and running things, and when they brought Karrion Kross up, they had him dressed ridiculous, like he was fucking from the Masters of the Universe, and it's just like, why would you do this? Why? He was fighting NXT. Just keep him the same character going to the main roster, and that's that's something Vince had a hard time with. Look what happened with Pete Dunne and the Butch deal. You know,
Karrion Kross is freaking amazing, so I don't understand it.
You know, it was kind of like with Butch or Pete Dunne.
You call him Butch.
Well, no, they brought him up from NXT and changed him to Butch. I'm like,
don't call him Butch.
It really pissed me off, because my first tweet when I saw that was, "Oh, great, from Bruiserweight to Butcher Block." And I think Carlos actually saw that tweet and laughed his ass off, but he knew my frustration with that. It's like, don't mess with something that's working. If it's working, there's no reason to fix it. Now, if it starts getting dull, that's one thing, and people aren't buying into it. I mean, look at what happened with Kane before he was Kane, Dr. Isaac Yankem. Yeah, that shit wasn't. So they revamped him to be the Undertaker's brother that was supposedly dead, but was never dead. So I think the problem is when Vince was around and he was bringing characters up from NXT, he was wanting to change it to his style, and it fucked people over. And then when it was not getting over, what was the best thing to do? Release them. And that
Karrion Kross,
killed it.
Karrion to me could be another, LBJ.
LBJ.
Oh, I think I said that wrong.
I'm like LeBron James.
LJB.
Who was it again? Sorry.
Layfield.
Oh,
he
John
could
Brett.
be another.
JBL.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
he could flat out be that. He's got the power. He's got the style. He's got the look. He can go in the ring. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. The only thing I can speculate on with his initial debut on the main roster I wonder if Vince and company said, "Oh, let's give him a demolition type attire," because that's what it reminded me of. And we can sell that mask. If it catches on, we can make him some money in merchandise. And I'm 90% guessing that mask was meant to be sold in a way to pay Kross more money, and the company, right? That's the only thing that makes sense to me, and because when they come up the main roster, they're like, "Ooh, merchandising. How can we, maximize our profit here?" So I think was the idea. It just didn't catch on, of course. And of course, people like us, we seen it. We're like, "What is this?" Right. And we're like, "What just happened?" Giving them that ring attire just kind of killed it. And, they've done that before. So.
Yeah, and we've seen what the ultimate price paid for it is too. So I think if they just let Karrion Kross go now the way he is, things will be fine.
Yeah.
So just please don't dick with it. We're gonna
More matches.
We're gonna take a little bit of time away here to split, and we'll get into the second half of the results. But I want to do some shout outs and promos here. Be sure to go check out our teammate Carlos on the X app, C to the LOS 77 or Conquer the No. Be sure to go check him out. He's got X Space shows going on Mondays, the Raw reactions with Carlos, and Wednesdays, Wednesday Night Chaos, usually right after AEW Dynamite. Lots of fun conversation in those X Spaces. Also, be sure to follow Bryan at the Bryan Adkins on the X app and go to his YouTube channel, Tap Out Talk at Tap Out Talk. Be sure to like and subscribe. And also make sure you get those notifications enabled on his channel when his new content comes out. Also, check out and participate in our X community, the fans of pro wrestling, and check it out under the account at FOPW Network on the X app. We also have a group chat on the X, the fans of pro wrestling. Just get with me, Carlos O'Brien, on DM us. We'll let you know what it takes to join us. On the X, also follow all of us. You can follow me at my main page, the WFI Pod or FOP Network. William?
I mean, I don't know if it's worth it, but at William Hoppy 8.
And then, Bryan, I've already said yours, but go ahead and throw yours out there again.
At the Bryan Adkins.
And then be sure also check out our webpage. I still need to go out and update it, but you can see some of our past stuff, especially Bryan's fun interview with Layla. Go check it out at the www.thefansofprowrestling.com. And also be sure to go check out our YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, also enable those notifications when we get the new episodes out at Wrestling Fans Insight. And also I have a TikTok. I'm hoping to integrate us going on there here shortly with our shows, but I'm on there at WFI Pod. And now getting into the second half, here's the fun one. I think we all were kind of waiting for a while, but I kind of feel like it's a little late. Solo Sikoa becomes the new WWE United States Championship with the help to defeat Jacob Fatu. This story's been kind of weird with Jacob turning on Solo, but everybody else sticking with him. But there's a new addition to it now. Tala Tonga, formerly known as Hekaleo in other parts. It took a whole circus to defeat the poor Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. Bryan, you predicted this one right on top, so why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, so I felt like the United States title could have changed hands just because Solo's ran out of steam heavily since. I mean, last time I really was bought into a Solo match was Solo and Roman at the Netflix debut of Raw, right? And that was kind of it. And he kind of fell flat since then for me. So I think a lot of factors here. I think there was this. I think there was also a matter of, Rikishi complaining about his sons being ripped off and this and that. So, he keeps forgetting about these other kids he has. But ultimately, I think Solo getting his faction, I'm going to call him 3.0, Bloodline 3.0, right? They are now together. It's a little confusing. You got Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tala Tamale, or whatever, right? So you have all these. I'm going to have to practice saying all these names because it sounds like a bowl full of jelly bellies, like all these different names. And so I'm like, okay, I guess we got to be them all unison, but sorry to make you guys laugh. But ultimately, I do think that, the right call was to get Solo a little bit of credibility with a title run. It does not hurt Jacob Fatu. I could see them hot potatoing this back and forth. Maybe even, they have a best of 7 series, right? That carries over the next few months and, just let them say, we're going to settle this once and for all in a best of 7. And right now we're tied 1-1. They can play this up and then have different styles. So I think this is just the beginning, but I think there's more to come.
William?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same line with Bryan on this. A few things to take away from this. I'm not really digging the new Bloodline shit. I just aren't. It doesn't really work with me. One of the biggest aggressions I have was them introducing Jacob Cobb with a faction when Cobb is a star. He doesn't need to be with a faction. As far as, the title goes, Solo definitely deserves to get his flowers. So I'm not upset with the timing of this. And I absolutely see them going back and forth with this title, like Bryan said. So, I mean, it's a good match. I'm kind of dead with the whole bloodline crap.
Yeah, good point there, Will. As far as introducing yet another bloodline, it just seems like what Bryan mentioned, we're just going to keep adding more bloodline members to the point where we don't know all their names, and it's going to get ridiculous. I mean, we're going to go through the entire damn family tree here soon. But yeah, I was a little shocked when they had Jeff Cobb kind of come in because, to your point, I don't think he needs to be in a faction because nobody really associates him with the rest of the bloodline, especially seeing him the way he's been in Ring of Honor, New Japan, couple of stints in AEW. I don't understand why he needs a faction when he's just a dominant powerhouse himself.
Yeah, no, he's a fucking star and he doesn't need to be in a faction.
And your thoughts on that, Bryan?
Yeah, I would have not put him in the bloodline. I would have actually, I know they're already tied up with Seth Rollins' group, but I would have tag teamed him with Bronson Reed. I would have had a fun power tag team, and then really showcase Cobb along with Bronson, and I would have had some fun there with that. And I know they already got plans for Bronson Reed, but I just think when I see those two, I'm like, man, that would look like a unified group. Probably something that we haven't seen since like the Natural Disasters, but a little bit more crazier, right? So that was kind of my overall thoughts on the debut there.
All right, let's move on to the Queen of the Ring finals. This one was kind of a interesting crowd reaction. Jade Cargill ends up defeating Asuka, but via pinfall to become the 2025 Queen of the Ring and earning that WWE Women's Championship opportunity at SummerSlam. And William, let's start with your thoughts on this.
Travesty. That's the best word I can bring to it. Look, Jade Cargill is an up and comer, no doubt. But I don't think she's there yet. I don't think she's ready for it. She needs to get a lot more under her belt. Taking out Asuka, as young as she is, it's not really making a lot of sense. They're clearly promoting the crap out of Jade Cargill for money, but it really doesn't hit well.
And it's kind of interesting when you say that, because the reaction of the crowd in Saudi, typically the reaction from any of the crowds outside the United States have really been different, especially on the PLEs. Bryan, would you say?
The international crowds are usually electric. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. This one, they were electric for Asuka, but they were not for Jade Cargill. And it almost matches some of that here in the United States. And I think maybe, I don't know. I think Jade Cargill has definitely improved quite a bit since her AEW days. But it's kind of scary seeing the reaction she's getting worldwide, that nobody seems to take an interest in her. And why do you think that is, Bryan?
I think it's what's translating into the ring. So I can speak to that a little bit, because my thoughts on this match, can we all agree Asuka is a great dance partner for anybody trying to wrestle a good match. She can wrestle with anybody in any style. She usually can work with bigs. She can work with the small wrestlers. She's that dynamic, right? Jade is, as mentioned, younger in the industry, right? And Asuka, I don't think this was a good match. I'm just going to say. And I felt like Asuka had to slow herself down to try to keep up or lower pace with Jade. And when I seen Jade going for moves, I see her not committing to the moves. It's like she's thinking about it and she's like, okay. And if you really watch it and go back, you'll see her pause before she goes to do the move. It's like, okay, I'm going to grab your head. I'm going to secure the hip on the pull, and like she thinks through the move and then does it instead of committing to it and saying, I practiced this 100 times. I'm going to jump in and do it. Right.
So you're seeing a little bit of insecurity.
I guess that's, I didn't think that, but the way I described it, I guess you're correct. Right. I'm seeing some, insecurity in the ability to commit to the move and the hold. And I can respect the fact that she doesn't maybe want to hurt her partner in that. Right. But there's also, you're in a big time PLE, it's different when you're on main event or something or NXT and you're just trying to work through stuff. But I've come to realize she's probably the wrestler she's going to be, right? We've been in WWE for 2 years now, and we was in AEW, correct me, 3 years? I think.
Yeah.
So that's 5 years of experience that we know of, right? And I mean, she's gotten a little bit better, but I mean, it's just, I think I would remarket her, and I said this kind of on my channel, I would actually put her into more of a get the job done power wrestler, right? And I would just have her, do the squash thing almost like, very quick, very like kind of what they did, because these longer matches with these mat technicians, I think she's going to get exposed in a one-on-one, right? Tag team match, you can hide. Rumble matches, multi-woman matches, you can hide, right? And I do like Jade looks like $1 million. She looks good. She looks like a wrestler. But man, one-on-one, I think she's going to get exposed even more. And
so you think she's better as an enforcer?
An enforcer, and I could even see her in that quick, like I hate to say it because it's a bad comparison, but you almost have to book her like you would Amos, right? You almost have to book very quick, fast, boom, power, get up from that, right? That kind of a mentality. Because to give her more time is going to give her a little more exposure. I'm not trying to bash on her because there's a lot I like about her look, her character she developed. I think the Storm is Coming is great. And
aside from that, she's actually a really good person.
And I imagine she is, right? I've not heard too much good or bad, but obviously they like her, right? And so I'm sure she is a great person. The post-match interview after winning Queen of the Ring, you could tell she was a little rattled. And it didn't come across like I just dominated and won this. She kind of had the deer in headlight going, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, and you're going to go out there and potentially what? I believe she's going to line up with Tiffany Stratton for her title shot. I mean, Tiffany still new herself. And if Asuka doesn't carry you, to a nice spectacle, what's Tiffany going to do? Right. And it's not a knock on any of these ladies. It's just, I think you got to pair her with the right people. And Tiffany is, still growing in her craft, but man, I feel like Tiffany's come along way faster. And Tiffany's been around 3-4 years, and she's at that point where she is, where Jade Cargill's been there about 5 now. So it's just kind of
Tiffany's only been around for about 2 years.
Tiffany Stratton,
main roster,
but she's killing it.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill, to your point, she got a lot of work to do. I loved what you had to say about Asuka because really, she's that active member.
Well, I think Bryan was also counting her Tiffany's NXT years too. So yeah, he is right. There's 4 years there for Tiff. But what you just mentioned, though, Bryan, we may also see a third element too that could be a possibility. Let's also not forget Nelly has the women's Money in the Bank match. So if there was ever a time where we got the 2 really young talent in there, not so experienced, let's get the veteran in there and make this a triple threat. Have her cash it in and, have her kind of guide the ladies a bit in there. So, I mean, there's that possibility. I would like to see that happen, to be honest, just to further the storyline between Naomi and Jade Cargill, because it may just even out to where Tiffany Stratton retains and carries that WWE Women's Championship even a little bit longer. So
I think that's a very good observation. I'm glad you pointed that out. I think it would be super smart for them to do a triple threat like that. And then that, we can get another body in there. And if Jade needs to take a bump and then go on the outside of the ring and rest, great, just anything. And then let her come back in and do her power moves and, go through a small move set. But a long match move set, I just one-on-one, I didn't like what I seen. And I'm hoping it was just maybe jitters or something. But, I've seen this for a while and I was like, okay, maybe this is just who she is. We just have to use it different. So it's a good point, though, by Naomi.
All right, let's move on to the main event. This one was I know how we've complained about overbooked finishes. I didn't think this one was too bad, but it, again, still a little bit overbooked. The WWE Undisputed Championship, John Cena retains over CM Punk. Woo! This match was definitely not the best I've seen. I mean, there's some people that liked it, others not so much. For me, this was kind of boring, especially when they had to throw in some overbooking finish to finally make it somewhat exciting. The match did not gel well. I mean, this definitely showed both talents' ages right here. Even my own wife says, what in the hell are we watching? Because, she was once a fan of watching Cena and Punk way back, in the early 20 teens, But yeah, this kind of did not really hit well for me. How about you, Brian?
All right. So from this analysis, I'm going to be in the Gorilla Monsoon Gorilla position, right? I'm going to play director of the match. Okay, guys, good. We got a match going. We got John Cena. We got CM Punk. All right, this is a highlight of their best work. We're just kind of revisiting memory lane. Good job, guys. Good job. All right, show me something new. Come on. Show me something. All right. This isn't working. Send Seth down. Get Paul out there. That'll pop the crowd. Let's do it, guys. Go out there. Let's do a cash-in. Okay, that didn't work. All right. You know what? I got Sammy. Get Sammy out there, right? And let's get Sami Zayn out there. They love him. That'll work. Let's get the energy up. And then that dies down. We equal out everything. All right, cool. You know what? Still not enough. Send Penta out there and make him dance on the stage for 5 minutes before helping him. We'll get that out there. I don't know why, but Penta doesn't make sense. But make him go out there and dance. I'm coming down to help you in a minute. Yeah, I'm dancing. And then we get to the end finally. Oh, by the way, the match isn't over, but we're going to shake hands like it is. And then we're going to do the betray because remember, sold my soul to The Rock. We got to remind everyone. And then we'll close the show. There. That was my analysis. I wanted to do a different take on that, but that was just off the script for me. I just kind of was rolling with it, but I felt like that's what was happening. It was just hey, that's not working. Send them out. Send out. And Penta didn't make sense for me. I was like, okay, and if you're running down to help somebody, you're not dancing on stage for 5 minutes, it's while the guy's getting beat up and, so I felt like they were just trying to revisit memory lane a lot. Even the build up, they did the pipe bomb and then they did the punkonomics, right? And I'm going to give them credit for trying. And you know what? I enjoy things like that, but even then it felt a little forced, right? I thought somebody had a really great post I seen online on Twitter, and somebody said everything that CM Punk is doing right now is exactly what MJF said he would be doing. And I was like, oh, burn, but it's not wrong, right? He's kind of being the puppet a little bit and, doing everything that they're asking. But the match for me, it was a little boring. And I think it's just because we were expecting Money in the Bank again, right? And these are two great stars that I know they can do it, but I don't know what happened and why we had to have so much interference. And it didn't really need anything. It didn't need Seth. It didn't need Sammy or Penta. I keep forgetting he was there, but because of all the dancing. But that's my overall thoughts. So,
William?
You really sure you want to hear my opinion on this one?
I
No,
kind
I
of
don't
do.
care.
I think
Yeah,
you're gonna love it. You love it, right?
I mean, this is the wrestling fans' insight. Let's get the insight going.
All right.
Is it a 7-star match?
Shit ass match. Shit ass match. I do not like Phil. I've never liked Phil. Fuck CM Punk. All right. Let's get that out of the way.
Tell us how you really feel.
Next. You bring in a bunch of interference because CM Punk can't get the fucking job done. Right?
Or John Cena.
John Cena also needs to retire. This was a dumbass match from the get-go. They should have brought in a younger talent to go up against John Cena. This was a crap match.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I use that line all the fucking time. I use that line all the time, and I'm not even a CM Punk fan.
No, it was just a lot of extra. And you know what? I'm usually a run-in mark, right? Like I'm like, yeah, go. But when it makes a little sense, right? And I like the fact, okay, I will give it one thing, one small thing that I like. Okay. I like that they've been just keep dropping these hints about Seth versus John Cena down the line. Like they keep hinting at that. And I actually am like, yeah, it might make sense for that to happen down the line, or even Seth Rollins to eventually be the one that gets his title back from Cena or Cody, right? And so I do like that aspect. And I'm reaching there though, right? But even then I could have done without the cash-in attempt. So
Yeah, this match was pretty much just a cluster from the beginning. And, I always have mixed feelings on Punk. I was a fan of his before, but until all the shenanigans where he's walked out, hasn't wrestled, he tried MMA. I gave him kudos for that, even though he wasn't successful there.
Mickey Gall says hi to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And, then going into AEW, and we knew how that story played, and then coming back to WWE, I can understand why there's a lot of IWC criticisms and conflicts with CM Punk, and they're very deserved, they're earned. But at the same time, I think after seeing what happened with AEW, one, it was the right call to have John Cena still retain the championship. But two, yeah, this match was just not very well done. Yeah. And what kills me is the only thing that really kept it entertaining was watching the fans, singing their usual ole, 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 ole. It seems like that's the go-to no matter which crowd we go to. It's
The
just
soccer chant.
Yeah. Football chant if you want to be exact.
Okay. Non-Americana football.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I just, it's like what Sarah mentioned. If you watched them, they weren't really doing actual wrestling holds for that first half of the match. It was like
Geriatric.
They were being very gentle with each other, and we're like, I couldn't unsee it after she said that after watching it. No, she was kind of right in what she said. So, I just figured it would have been at least a better match than what it was. And on paper, it probably looked good. Unfortunately, the execution was not there. And I just don't think it got over as well as it should have, especially with throwing the overbooking the way Bryan put it there in every detail. So
could have done without it for sure.
And both guys have a capability to do it. And I thought it was going to go well. I have my feelings on Punk as well and everything, but I gave him a lot of credit last year because I felt like he did have feud of the year with Drew McIntyre, right? And that was a good feud that lasted a very long time. And I was like, keep it coming, right? And John is very capable of putting on his style of a good match. So, and these two have worked, what'd they say, 16 times or something crazy, and then 8 of them were title defenses. So for me, I'm like, yeah, this should have worked on all levels. And those two getting in the room together and planning something out, I was like, they're very capable, and this could have been really good. I don't even need to see a follow-up. I think we just move right ahead with John in the next opponent. I don't need to see SummerSlam or anything else, right?
Yeah, I don't think I want to watch Grumpy Old Man 3 here go again. So I think we're kind of well past that, and it's just time to move on. And it like I said, on paper it looked good. Unfortunately, the execution was not. But another PLE in the books. We move on. Hopefully, the next match, which I believe will be SummerSlam. I don't know yet for Cena. Yeah, it depends on if they're going to book any more for Saturday night's main event, which I actually want to bring that up because we did have a question from one of our listeners, Jim at Fan of the Van podcast. Shout out to him. He wanted to ask us about our thoughts on the PLE, which we already just gave, but he wants to know, Goldberg, do we need that match with Gunther? It seems like it's going to be kind of brutal. Well, we start with William on his thoughts with Gunther and Goldberg at Saturday night's main event.
Absolutely fucking stupid. Okay, look, Goldberg's old news. They keep bringing him in to be the surprise, but at this point, all he does is get injured every time he gets in the ring. There's no point to putting Goldberg up against him. Bring in somebody like Taker, bring in somebody like Triple H, bring in Kurt Angle, anybody else but fucking Goldberg.
Would you rather have Gilbert?
Yes.
Fuck yes.
Honestly, yeah, I'm done with Goldberg. And, Brian, you were in the group chat when I said it. I kind of hope Gunther just stiff chops him to permanent retirement. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean, but yeah, I'm done with the old guys trying to come back and make a statement, and it's just not working.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you and we watched the very first win and in person of Goldberg's streak. It happened in Salt Lake City.
Was that Hugh Morris? Was that his first opponent?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we have always been a fan of Goldberg, but Jesus Christ, put it away.
Well, that backflip he did in the ring really put a moment in his career there, Will. So, but Brian, your thoughts on Goldberg and Gunther for Saturday?
Yeah, I like the question, so thank you for giving us the question, Fan of the Van. I'm actually okay with this matchup, as long as it's a one-off. I do geek out when Goldberg comes back, right? There's just so much memories that flow, and I'm like, yeah, Goldberg, right? And I always will, right? That's what being a fan of his is. But I do want to see the one match, and I would like to see Gunther retain in that match. I would like to see Gunther win by submission, right? Like, I would like to see a fun match. I would like to see Goldberg doing his thing. I would like to see Gunther counter a spear into a submission and put him down, and Gunther dominates, let's be real, a Hall of Fame legend in the business, right? So, and I think that just adds to Gunther's resume, because I do think Gunther is the real deal, and that just adds to the longest Intercontinental Champion of all time. He goes into, I've beaten Goldberg, I've ended the streak. He can play into that and be stupid with it, but at the end of the day, it just adds to his character, and it would help build him as a bigger star even. And we got to wash ourselves the taste out of our mouths of him passing out at Mania with Jey Uso. So this is a way to counter that and get Goldberg.
My Lord, you got a lot going on in your mind, buddy.
So, well, I mean, hey, the good news for you, Will, is that match is only going to be about 5 minutes. So,
I'm not too worried about it going longer than 3 minutes.
yeah, I was gonna say, go, make your bed, take out the dog, whatever,
Well, Gunther did say I have 3 minutes to spare, so
Yeah, he said I got 3 minutes to spare. So as long as it puts him over even stronger, I like it. And Saturday night's main event, great. It's a great draw. People will tune in for that because they know the name Goldberg, and I want them to know the name Gunther by the end of that program.
oh, they'll know it. I mean, if they don't already know it, then there's a problem. So
Now, if Goldberg wins the championship, we're going to have a different conversation.
yes, I have a feeling we're going to have a kumbaya session on the next episode.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, as we're rolling through our last little bit in the banners here, let's get into our final thoughts. Brian, let's start with final thoughts for the week from you.
And
any shout outs you may have.
Yeah. I'm always bad with shout outs, but let me shout out like Miami the Great and Carlos and, everybody over there on Twitter, Ted from Ted's Takes. We've got a fun project coming up that, John, you're going to be involved with as well. All of us really. But ultimately I thought the week just kind of mowed the grass, right? With wrestling. We mowed the lawn was cut, but we didn't do any deep in the weeds work. And I said, that's kind of how I seen the week unfolding. And hopefully we'll get a little bit of a good build this week. I'm looking forward to Evolution and Saturday night's main event. I'm a big supporter of female wrestling. You guys know that. And I'm a supporter of Saturday night's main event. So I'm glad to have those two things back next week. In addition, we got AEW coming up as well, right? Or that's in another week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe 2 weeks actually.
Yep. So we got that.
AEW All In will be coming up. I'm hoping we'll get together, bring the band back for one big old prediction contest show. So that would be awesome if we can get Carlos on here and William for sure. So, William, do you have any final thoughts and shout outs this week?
No shout outs other than just thank you to everybody who listens, obviously. Brian's dead ass right. This was a mundane week, straight up, but I'm dead ass dedicated to watching what the women's division does. I want to see them flourish.
I want to see Layla come back. Just saying. I might be biased, but
you're a little biased for certain reasons. We know you want
biased.
that. We know you want that second interview going.
I do. I want Lay back in there. So,
anyways, I want to throw in. First, I want to say last time Brian and I were on here, I mentioned how I would love to see Mercedes Moné kind of get a little aggressive, and after watching this week, she's definitely starting to take that step, and I hope she can keep going more and more aggressive as by the time they have their match there at All In with Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. So kudos to Mercedes for actually stepping it up. Let's keep seeing that side of you and be more vicious out there. As far as shout outs this week, I love giving my normal Jim the Fan of the Van out there. Again, thank you for the question. Hope we answered it in good spirits for you. But also my other favorites, the DWE community, as well as the Wrestle Collective there on the X app. Lots of great content from those, from X, YouTube, Discord. Be sure to go check them out. I also want to shout out to Aaron over at Brutally Honest Sports, Dave and Brand at the 1420 Sports Bar podcast, Jim with the Fan in the Van podcast, Jim and Garrett Steel and Teal Talk. Also Jalen and Garrett with the Two Dudes Sports News, Nate's Daily Wager Wire, In a Pickle Pod, the IAP Radio. Be sure to go check out Visit Vegas Places with Coyle. He does a lot of fun stuff with local businesses in the Vegas area. If you ever plan to go take a vacation there, go check out all the businesses he interviews. Also, be sure to go check out the Chair Shot Sports and the rest of his media group, the Run In with Big Mike. And last but not least, as our big and best friend out there, Ted the Hillbilly Hill, who does Ted's Takes on Wrestling on the YouTube channel. Go check out his video shorts. He does such a wonderful job with them each and every time he posts. And without any further ado, we're going to call it good on this week's episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight. We will be back again next Sunday with another fun episode. And be sure to go check out Bryan at Tap Out Talk. He's going to be releasing a fun project here in the next couple of days. Please take care, enjoy wrestling, and we'll see you all next week.